Having added punctuation, omitted words, and deleted superfluous timestamps, the following transcript is now available. With a low thud, the soda can strike the pavement, dripping sticky liquid upon the tomb guard's shiny boots. As their gasps pierced through the sweltering August heat, the packed Arlington froze. With his phone set to film the ideal video for viral distribution, 13-year-old Tyler Grayson grinned while wearing designer sneakers. He was anticipating the unsmiling soldier's amusement, perhaps even a shudder. Rest assured, the tomb guard, Ethan Caldwell, remained motionless. Behind his sunglasses, an untamed wrath blazed through his gaze. A youngster, his family, and a whole nation's view of honor were about to be forever altered by the consequences of a single act of disdain. Nobody in that audience, including Tyler, could have suspected that the man he made fun of was bearing the burden of a murdered brother. Plus, there were mysteries within the tomb he was protecting, and they were about to be revealed. Could you please tell me where you are seeing this from before we begin? Please inform us in the space provided. Additionally, please join us in continuing the memory of these heroes if you share our belief that respect, bravery, and sacrifice are still important. At Arlington National Cemetery, it was Memorial Day. The tomb of the unknown soldier was encircled by an overwhelming number of visitors as the sun beat down on them. The atmosphere was heavy with heat and reverence, as is typical when a holy event is approaching. A palpable stillness. With mechanized precision, the lone sentinel paced while families, veterans, and tourists stood shoulder to shoulder, staring at him. His uniform, which was navy blue, was clean. Sunglasses concealed any expression on his face, and his kepi cap dipped low. With each stride, pivot, and click of his heels, he made his purpose known. The man bearing the burden of honor was none other than Ethan Caldwell, a 28-year-old grave guard serving in the 3rd U.S. Infantry Regiment. A California family named Grayson was among those in attendance. The tech CEO, Jonathan Grayson, sported a sharp suit and was completely absorbed in sending emails on his phone. With her fashionable sunglasses resting on her nose, his wife Lauren clumsily maneuvered through a cemetery map. Tyler, their kid, stood between them. He had perfectly gelled blonde hair and was dressed like $1,000,000, with limited edition sneakers, a custom t-shirt, and a brand new phone hanging from his hand. The ceremony was missed by Tyler. His parents planned a trip to Washington, D.C., so he was here. Would appear attractive on their online platforms. However, Tyler regarded this as yet another dull detour on an unwanted vacation. Tyler whispered, "This is so lame." Audible enough for passing tourists to take notice. "Why are we standing here watching some guy walk back and forth? It's like 100 degrees out here." Lauren looked up barely once as she groaned. "Tyler, honey, put this in perspective. It's important." Tyler scoffed and continued to swipe through his phone. Jonathan stared at his screen the whole time and said, "It's just some old tomb. I bet this guy's just a wannabe soldier playing dress-up. Let him complain, Lauren. He'll get over it." After Ethan finished his 21 steps, he turned to face the grave, and the audience fell silent. He was a walking memorial to the unnamed troops who sacrificed everything. His movements were perfect. Motivated by the memories of his older brother, Michael, who did not return from Afghanistan, Ethan had endured years of punishing training to win this position. Michael, the fallen, and the country were at the center of his every move. It went unnoticed by Tyler. For all he cared, there was an opportunity to become famous. "I'm going to get a sick video of this man," Tyler exclaimed, gesturing with his phone. His voice crackled as he began to record, his bet being that he could make him recoil in fear. "Hey, look at this mechanized soldier. Sure is, I bet he's perspiring profusely under that hat." A handful of tourists gave Tyler the evil eye, but it disturbed him none. He was accustomed to being the center of attention and to his parents ignoring his mischief. While he was back home, his acquaintances and professors both looked down on his family's fortune. In Tyler's mind, there were no boundaries. He could do anything he wanted. Tyler went from bored to mischievous as Ethan swung around for another pass. A half-empty Coke can, a lunch leftover, was visible in his hand, according to him. His face lit up with joy. "This is going to be epic," he said to himself. As he approached the rope barrier, he disregarded the warning signs that said, "Stay back." They could hear the murmurs of unrest in the crowd, But Jonathan and Lauren were absorbed in their own thoughts. Tyler hurled the Coke can with a swift flick of his wrist. As it landed close to Ethan's feet, it splattered goo upon his shiny boots. As a group, the spectators gasped, breaking the spell of quiet. Unfazed, Ethan continued. His expression stayed expressionless, his gait unwavering, but there was a subtle tightening of his jaw. He remained stable due to his years of combat and discipline. The loss of his brother, roadside bombs, enemy fire. All were worse than a spoiled child. Now this was an insult of a different type. The audience's response made Tyler laugh even more. Yo, he didn't even blink. This guy's a total statue. Once again, he lifted his phone to capture a closer look at Ethan's boots. Look at the disaster I created. This is becoming viral, said an old man in the audience, leaning toward his wife while wearing a cap commemorating his service in Vietnam. That child lacks respect, he whispered. Indifferent Tyler continued. Someone needs to teach him a lesson. Leaning over it, he stepped up to the rope. He looked to the audience for a chuckle, but all he got were scowls. Hey, soldier boy, are you going to clean that up or what? I bet you can't even talk. To protect her children from what was happening, a mother drew them closer. With heads shook in disapproval, a cluster of adolescents murmured. At last, Jonathan raised his head from his phone. Come back here, Tyler. What are you doing? Calm down, Dad. Tyler waved him away. Words hung heavily and wrongly in the air as the speaker said, I'm just having fun. These guys are paid to stand there, right? They work for us. Tyler was briefly the focus of Ethan's attention as he peered over his sunglasses. Even in conflict zones, he had heard worse taunts, but the haughtiness of this child hurt. More than just a monument, the tomb of the unknown soldier stood tall. It was a sacred place for those who had given their lives for the greater good, even though they would never be famous or wealthy. As if it were a TikTok backdrop, this child was playing around with it. Tyler, unfazed, took out his phone once more. He stepped over the rope barrier and said, Time for the money shot. With their phones out and ready to record, the audience burst into hushed cries. With his phone held high for a selfie, Tyler strolled over to Ethan. Hey, look at us, the statue guy and I. This is going to go viral. 1 million people will like it. Something gave way, even if Ethan's training begged him to remain motionless and disregard the provocation. It was about more than simply him. Michael, like every soldier who never returned home, was the focus. Quicker than anybody had anticipated, Ethan moved forward in a single fluid action, grabbed Tyler's phone, and threw it onto the pavement. The sound of the screen breaking resounded like a shotgun blast. Spectators stood motionless. Tyler was taken aback, his mouth hanging open in disbelief. You shattered my phone, he yelled out. With his expression impassive and his stance impeccable, Ethan resumed his post, but something was different in the air. That's a $2,000 phone. You're going to pay for that. Some in the audience were silently cheering, while others were frozen in shock. Within the throng, security personnel, escorted by Inspector Laura Bennett, pressed forward. Police Officer Laura, who has served for 15 years at Arlington National Cemetery, talked into her radio. With a flushed face, Jonathan hurried forward and announced, We've got a situation at the tomb. Kid crossed the line, and the sentinel responded. Do you know who I am? Laura asked, her voice remaining calm but determined. This is outrageous. That soldier assaulted my son. I'm calling my lawyer. Sir, your son threw a soda can at a tomb guard and crossed a restricted barrier. That's assault and trespassing on federal property. You're lucky the sentinel didn't do more. He's a kid, Lauren said with her purse in her hand. You can't treat him like a criminal. Ma'am, responded Laura. Age doesn't excuse disrespecting the tomb. This is a sacred place, and your son just defiled it. As he continued to stare at his broken phone, Tyler cast an eye around. He noticed the expressions on the faces of the throng for the first time. Indignation, wrath, and disappointment. Standing close by, with their arms crossed and expressions severe, were a number of veterans. A woman in her 60s who was wearing a pin from the Marine Corps disagreed and shook her head. She asserted, I buried friends here, at a volume that Tyler could comprehend. Already trending on Twitter was the hashtag #ArlingtonKid, which meant, you should be ashamed. A few. Social media platforms such as Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok became viral with footage of Tyler's trick and Ethan's reaction. Entitled Teen Disrespects Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. Laura looked to her staff as news vans were on their way, and the story was making national headlines. Despite Jonathan's protests, the guards were adamant that the family be taken to the security office so that we could resolve this matter. As the onlookers dispersed, some taking pictures, some making derogatory comments about the privileged youth, they escorted the Graysons away. Even though his boots were still soiled with cola, Ethan's unwavering focus allowed him to restart his march. Nevertheless, he sensed a tempest within. As a tomb guard, he seldom broke convention, but he felt no remorse for doing so. "I'm not ready just yet." Laura and Colonel Margaret Hayes, who oversaw Ethan's battalion, sat across from the Graysons in the security office, a cozy, air-conditioned space adorned with photographs documenting Arlington's past. Veteran Margaret, who was 50 years old and had silver hair and a hard stare, was not shy about saying what she thought. "Mr. Grayson, your son committed assault on a federal officer and disrespected a national monument," she pointed out. Jonathan leaned closer, his commercial instincts taking over, and said, "This isn't a game. The tomb represents every soldier who gave their life for this country. Your son treated it like a circus. Listen, Colonel, I have faith that we can resolve this. Let's keep this under wraps. I'll pay for the cemetery with a check." Margaret's pupils widened in alarm. "This isn't about money, Mr. Grayson. It's about respect or the complete lack of it. Your son needs to learn that actions have consequences, no matter how much money you have." Lauren held her husband's hand tightly. At 13 years old, he had no malicious intent. "He's just a kid who thinks he's above the rules," Laura remarked. "I couldn't agree more. And from your reactions I can tell he gets it from somewhere," Tyler said as he slouched in his chair, his normal confidence gone. The gravity of the situation was becoming apparent. The phone he relied on for survival was broken. No one on this planet was rooting for him, and they were all watching. "I felt tiny for the first time." Margaret took a standing position. A 38-year-old psychologist who specialized in disturbed kids named Dr. Emily Carter arrived an hour later to evaluate your son. "This isn't just about punishment. It's about making sure he understands what he's done. You will not be allowed to leave Arlington until then." Tyler was just like other spoiled, entitled, attention-seeking kids that Emily had encountered. They were never taught responsibility. Seated in a separate room, she spoke to Tyler in a calm but direct manner. With a notepad at the ready, she commanded Tyler to explain his actions. Without meeting her gaze, Tyler shrugged. Boredom set in. "I thought it would be funny that he was just standing there like a robot," Emily said with an eyebrow arch. "You threw a soda can at a soldier guarding the tomb of the unknown soldier. Do you know what that tomb represents?" Tyler continued to shrug. Emily leaned forward and said, "Some dead soldiers, I guess. The lives of the fallen troops were sacrificed in defense of our nation. Those people gave their lives so that you could be free to stand here and be an idiot. Ethan, the guard, is paying tribute to them, and you disregarded that," Tyler said with an uncomfortable shift. "It was merely a Coke can. I didn't intend to cause him any harm." "Tyler, the issue is not one of physical violence but of disrespect. You treated a holy site as if it were your own playground. What did the guard feel?" "I'm not sure," Tyler murmured. "He didn't even react. That's because he's trained to stay professional, even when people like you try to provoke him. But trust me, he felt it, and so did every veteran in that crowd." Tyler was twitching with his fingers. He was stumped for a response. The guard was beginning to take on more of a persona, rather than an object in his eyes. The media's obsession was intensifying outside. The story went global when CNN and Fox News covered #ArlingtonKid. Parenting, privilege, and patriotism were topics of dispute among commentators. "This kid needs to learn what sacrifice means," read a tweet that went viral, sent by a veteran. "The tomb isn't joking," Jonathan heard on the other end of the phone as his public relations staff threatened to lower the value of his company's stock. A deluge of hate speech prompted Lauren to take her social media accounts private. Upon returning to the room, Emily voiced her suggestion. "Tyler needs a wake-up call," she informed Margaret and the Graysons. I'm proposing a 4-week community service program here at Arlington. He'll work with the grounds crew, meet veterans, and learn about the tomb's significance. If he doesn't cooperate, we'll escalate to juvenile authorities. Jonathan shrugged his shoulders. You can't be serious. He's a kid, not a criminal. He committed assault on federal property, stated Margaret. With tears welling up in Lauren's eyes, she said, Be grateful we're offering an alternative to legal charges. This is about teaching him, not punishing him. But our vacation, we're supposed to fly to Paris next week. Your vacation is over, Laura pointed out. As his thoughts raced, Tyler remained mute and said, Your son's education starts now. Cleaning a cemetery as part of community duty was a living nightmare. However, he could tell he was stuck in this situation by the expression on Emily's face. A lot happened to Tyler in the subsequent 4 weeks. At the crack of dawn every day, he ditched his expensive threads in favor of denim and a work shirt. Under the Virginia sun, he washed pathways, removed weeds, and polished headstones. He griped nonstop for the first week, but the groundskeepers weren't going to give in to his demands. Veterans, both male and female, who had fought in conflicts that Tyler had only heard of in books. Their disregard for his family's wealth was palpable. Emily brought Tyler to see Clara Thompson one afternoon. Thompson is 90 years old and was a nurse who treated wounded soldiers at Normandy during World War II. While Clara talked, her voice was powerful, her hands quivered. I held boys younger than you as they died, she pointed out. Listening without his customary snark, Tyler heard the speaker say, They didn't know if we'd win the war, but they fought anyway. That's what the tomb is for. Those who gave everything. In contrast to the media he consumed and the activities he engaged in, Clara's narratives were unique. Heavy, genuine, and unprocessed they were. He experienced a sense of embarrassment for the initial time. In week 3, Tyler went to a Memorial Day service to place wreaths. As Ethan marched again, he stood amid the throng. Now it hit Tyler differently, the accuracy of the guard, the crowd's quiet, the weight of the moment. The reverence shown by the veterans' salutes and the joy in Ethan's stride were both visible to him. The significance of the tomb became clear to him. This was an enduring vow. Emily set up a meeting between Ethan and Tyler on the last day of his program. Colonel Hayes and Emily were present as they sat in a peaceful office that looked out over the cemetery. Even though he was dressed like a civilian, Ethan's military demeanor was obvious. As Tyler confronted the man he had disdained, a knot formed in his gut. A calm but gentle voice whispered, Ethan, I'm sorry, from Tyler. Ethan regarded him intently, his visage betraying his feelings. I was a jerk. I didn't get what you do, what this place means. I treated you like a prop, and that was wrong. Did you do it, kid? Tyler asked with a hint of hesitation. I thought it'd make me look cool online. I didn't think about you as a person. I didn't think about the soldiers you're honoring. I've been talking to veterans, learning about what they went through. My grandpa was a Marine. He'd be ashamed of me. Ethan gave a gentle nod. My brother was a soldier too. Michael, he died in Afghanistan when I was your age. I guard the tomb for him, for all the ones who didn't come home. When you threw that soda, you weren't just disrespecting me. You were disrespecting them. Tyler felt pain in his eyes. I get that now. I can't undo it. But I want to make it right. Ethan drew nearer. With a tight throat, Tyler nodded in agreement. You're starting to. Admitting you were wrong takes guts. Keep listening. Keep learning. That's how you honor the fallen. Ethan held out his hand and said, I will. I promise. With a solid and genuine grip, Tyler shook it. Tyler finally felt that someone was looking at him as an individual with potential, rather than just another wealthy, spoiled brat. That wasn't the end of the story. Tyler's redemptive journey, which supplanted #ArlingtonKid with #TombGuardLesson, became a nationwide sensation. In an effort to reach other young people in a similar situation, he began a blog where he discussed the importance of respect and sacrifice. Feeling compelled to raise Tyler differently, Jonathan and Lauren enrolled in parenting classes after being deeply affected by the event. Silently protecting the fallen, Ethan carried on with his duties, his boots shining and his steps perfect. No one ever bothered to fix the broken phone. More valuable than any material possession, however, were the values that Tyler acquired. modesty, respect, and a belief in a power greater than himself. As it always did, the tomb of the unknown soldier stood as a testament to the sanctity of certain things and the life-altering impact of certain lessons. Consider sending a super chat if you like the tale. It will help bring you more stories like this. Another riveting and compelling narrative awaits you when you click the video on the screen. It involves bravery, sacrifice, and a decision that will make you reevaluate your beliefs about responsibility and fairness. Navigate to the video by clicking on it,